Imagine being a Vikings fan and starting the season without two of your key wide receivers on the field. That is exactly the scenario unfolding right now in Minnesota. Jordan Addison is suspended. Jalen Nailor is recovering from a hand injury, and even Justin Jefferson, the face of the franchise, is coming off a muscle issue that needs careful management to prevent it from worsening. For an offense that will be led by McCarthy in his first year as a starter, every detail matters. And in this context, one prominent name is beginning to dominate behind the scenes: Amari Cooper. Could he be the piece capable of turning this turbulent start into a balanced attack? Get ready, because we will break down this possibility and the real impact it could bring in the early weeks of the season. For an offense that will be led by McCarthy in his first year as a starter, the equation is clear. Experience and depth are urgently needed. This is precisely where the name Amari Cooper resonates more strongly than any other in the market. At 31 years old, Cooper still carries the weight of an impressive resume. 5 Pro Bowls, seasons of consistent production, and the technical ability to serve as an outside anchor for any offense. His 2024 season, however, raised some doubts. He recorded only 44 receptions for 547 yards and 4 touchdowns over 14 games. Modest numbers compared to his 2023 performance, when he achieved 72 receptions, 1,250 yards, and 5 touchdowns. The contrast between these 2 years fuels both skepticism and hope that there is still enough fuel left for an immediate impact. Beyond statistics, the analysis must consider the context. In Cleveland, Cooper faced quarterback instability. Then in Buffalo, after the trade, he dealt with a wrist injury that limited his performance. An injury that, for a wide receiver, affects not only physical contact, but also route execution and ball control. Yet even during moments when his body did not respond fully, the game film showed flashes of his coverage reading ability and refined execution on intermediate routes. The ability to gain separation against press coverage, even versus physical cornerbacks, remains within competitive standards. The precision in the stem of his routes continues to be efficient. Variation in speed, disguised intentions, and sharp cuts that create clear targets on timing routes. Cooper may no longer be the vertical threat he once was, but his consistency in short to intermediate areas is still valuable, especially for a rookie quarterback who needs reliable windows to accelerate his decision-making. The urgency in Minnesota is not just about having a name, but about functionality. Kevin O'Connell's system relies on Jefferson as the offensive barometer, capable of lining up inside and outside, exploiting the opposing secondary in multiple ways. However, without Addison in the early weeks, and with Nailor limited, opposing defenses can focus double coverages on Jefferson, neutralizing part of the scheme's creativity. This is where Cooper emerges as a natural fit. By lining up as the X receiver in 11 personnel sets, he commands immediate respect and creates balance in defensive matchups. With him on the field, Jefferson can maintain his strategic movement across the field without bearing the full weight of responsibility alone. There is also the factor of McCarthy. The transition of a young quarterback into a starting role on a team with immediate ambitions does not allow for structural weaknesses. Recent NFL history shows how the presence of experienced veterans can be crucial in establishing rhythm for offenses led by young quarterbacks. Cooper, even if no longer a guaranteed 1,000-yard receiver, provides the kind of reliability McCarthy needs to turn reading progressions into confident completions. Comeback routes, short outs, and slants, all within Cooper's comfort zone, are tools that can keep chains moving and ease pressure during early drives. Minnesota's situation becomes even more urgent when considering the schedule. The start of the season includes matchups against the Chicago Bears, Atlanta Falcons, and Cincinnati Bengals. 3 opponents with defenses known for pressuring inexperienced quarterbacks and punishing mistakes on contested throws. Entering these games without Addison and potentially without Jefferson at full strength would expose McCarthy to a high-risk environment. In this context, signing Cooper is not just reinforcement. It is a preventive strategy to keep the offense functional until the receiving unit is whole again. Naturally, other options are being discussed. Terry McLaurin, amid a contract dispute in Washington, Adam Thielen, a possible target if released by Carolina, Lazard, whose status in New York remains uncertain, and even Tyreek Hill, whose name inevitably surfaces in rumors. However, Each of these scenarios involves draft capital trades or long-term financial commitments that do not align with the Vikings' current roster strategy. Cooper's advantage lies in his immediate availability as a free agent and the potential for a short-term deal at a moderate cost. The closest reference is Keenan Allen's one-year, $3 million contract with the Chargers, and Minnesota could replicate a similar structure. For a team still evaluating its competitive ceiling in 2025 and aiming to preserve future cap flexibility, this represents the kind of calculated move that makes sense. As the days progress and training camp narrows down decisions, signs of movement are already in the air. The Vikings front office is monitoring the market, making calls and evaluating scenarios. Yet amid speculation and possibilities, logic points the team toward Cooper. He would not need to arrive as the WR1. His role would be far more tactical, holding the line during the first 3 weeks, keeping defenses honest, and allowing McCarthy to build chemistry with Jefferson and Addison without excessive pressure. After that, he could settle into the WR3 role, sharing snaps with Nailor and expanding the versatility of offensive formations. The risk exists. Wide receivers over 30 rarely maintain elite consistency, and the NFL is relentless in accelerating decline. Yet, as Cooper's own trajectory shows, there are still solid fundamentals to justify a short-term investment. In Minnesota, the equation is simple. The absence of immediate reinforcement exposes McCarthy to an unnecessary storm. With Cooper, there is at least a chance to navigate the turbulent start and keep the season on track. When assessing the current state of the Vikings' wide receiver core, it is impossible to ignore how each piece connects to Kevin O'Connell's offensive puzzle. Jefferson, despite being the star, cannot carry the offense alone over 17 weeks. Addison, with his suspension confirmed, represents an immediate loss of talent, but also an opportunity for the team to reassess its priorities. Nailor, still recovering, does not offer the reliability required at the start of the season. All of this reinforces the sense that the arrival of a name like Amari Cooper would not just be convenient, but nearly inevitable within the logic of roster construction. The narrative gains strength because Cooper has already demonstrated the ability to complement established stars. In Dallas, he was a key piece in elevating Dak Prescott's production. In Cleveland, he maintained relevance despite years of instability. In Buffalo, even limited by the wrist injury, he showed flashes of presence that forced defenses to adjust their coverages. His role in Minnesota would be similar, lining up alongside Jefferson, drawing enough attention to prevent defenses from dedicating all resources to the #1 wide receiver, and at the same time, providing a reliable target for McCarthy on critical downs. This is where the scouting factor becomes even more evident. When reviewing Cooper's recent game film, it is clear he remains a master at manipulating angles against cornerbacks in off coverage. His cuts on comeback and dig routes are still sharp, maintaining efficiency in the intermediate areas of the field. On third down plays, this detail is crucial, especially for a rookie quarterback who needs to move the chains without relying solely on big plays. McCarthy, who stood out at Michigan for his accuracy on timing throws, would have in Cooper a dependable target to sustain drives that might otherwise end in premature punts. Vikings fans understand the importance of this piece. Just recall how the lack of stability at the WR2 position in previous years forced Jefferson to face constant double teams, reducing his impact in key games. With Cooper on the roster, the dynamic changes. Jefferson retains his creative freedom, Addison returns without the pressure of carrying the load alone, and Hockenson finds more space over the middle, as defenses would have to account for 3 capable receivers. The result? A wider variety of 11 personnel formations that expand O'Connell's offensive arsenal and keep defenses guessing. Another point that directly resonates with fans is the cost-benefit ratio. In a market where players like McLaurin or Tyreek Hill would require draft pick packages and long-term contracts, signing Cooper to a short, affordable deal comes across as a smart strategic move. There is no risk of mortgaging the franchise's future, while still adding immediate experience. For fans who have followed the team for years, this signals that the front office understands the moment. Protect McCarthy, keep the window of competitiveness open, and avoid compromising future drafts. And there is the psychological factor. Veteran players with experience across multiple franchises bring not only on-field skill, but also presence in the locker room. Cooper is known for his professional demeanor, his ability to guide younger players, and his willingness to embrace responsibility in critical moments. For a receiving group that currently blends raw talent with uncertainty, this leadership could be as valuable as the yards he gains. It is a type of intangible that does not show up in statistics, but that fans quickly recognize when the offense demonstrates consistency. With all these variables in play, the name Amari Cooper remains the most logical piece to address the Vikings' immediate puzzle. This is not about reviving the peak of a Pro Bowler, but about filling a strategic role that could define the tempo of the first weeks and give McCarthy the real conditions to grow within the system. Minnesota needs quick answers, and Cooper emerges exactly at the point where need and opportunity intersect. Thank you for watching, and see you soon.